Saas kebab, Salesforce. I love my filmy line. I'm calling it Saas kebab because Salesforce is, of course, the world's largest SaaS company, and it has made its first investment in India. In fact, Salesforce has made its first investment in Asia outside of Japan, and it's done so in Darwinbox. What is Darwinbox? Well, Darwinbox is an HR tech startup. It has received funding in the past from the likes of Sequoia Capital. So how did Darwinbox come into Salesforce's radar? How did it get a check from Salesforce? How does life change for Darwinbox after it has the world's largest SaaS company on board? Well, let's ask the founder of Darwinbox all of this. Joining me now is the founder of Darwinbox, Chaitanya. Chaitanya, congratulations. Thanks so much for joining us here on Startup Central. You've got the world's largest SaaS company to give you a check, and it's the first check that Salesforce is giving to an Indian startup. How does it feel?
So first of all, thank you, Nayanthara. Thanks for having me on your show. Great pleasure. Quite exciting. Personally, very, very gratifying for all of us. It is sort of a validation of whatever we've done so far. So quite excited and happy about it.
Okay, so now can you tell me a little bit of, and I'm sure a lot of our viewers want to know this. Now, Salesforce, of course, has an India presence, the former SBI chief Arundhati Bhattacharya there, all of that. But it's the first investment that Salesforce is making in an Indian startup, like I said, and first time in Asia outside of Japan. How did you even come in touch with Salesforce? How did you pitch to Salesforce? How did it happen?
So they approached us sometime in the last quarter. Things moved very fast, and then we could close the round very fast. We have several clients where we both are working on different product lines. They are in the CRM space, and we are in HR tech space. They heard good things about us, about the product strength, and a good client feedback also helped them in knowing about us. That's how I think they approached us, and it was quite exciting for all of us. When we got to know Salesforce was interested to partner with us, and since then it's been a very fast progression from the first touch point to eventually closing the funding. So they made several investments in US. For India, this is going to be their first investment. Yeah.
Okay, so they approached you. Now you've told us the story of how Salesforce and you came into contact. Tell me something to get the world's largest SaaS company on board. Things are, of course, going to change, but give us first an idea of how long the negotiations took place. How long did the entire process take?
Less than 8 weeks' time. It was a very swift process. They already heard good things about us at common clients. When they approached us, again, they were quite impressed by the sort of growth we had demonstrated in this year, in the last year. Since our last funding round, we've grown by 300% in terms of revenues, added 300 client logos from 200, making a total of 500 enterprises working with us. They were quite impressed with the progress that we demonstrated. And then, everything went quite smoothly. One thing that was personally very gratifying and interesting was the conversation that we had with Arundhati, where she was very excited when she got to know an Indian firm is giving competition to global firms, not only in India, across multiple geographies. She was very proud of that fact, and it was all very motivating and inspirational for us, the conversation that we had with her. And then we had a couple of other conversations with their leadership at Valley. Most of the team is primarily based out of US and UK. and then we have a few conversations, and that's it. We shook the hands, and the deal happened. Followed by, of course, the normal process like diligence, etc. So the whole process took less than 8 weeks. I mean, they're very very fast in terms of taking the decision, and since then the whole execution part that follows.
Okay, so it's also interesting to know that in 8 weeks' time, it was all done. And this is also the first time that Salesforce is making a bet in India, right? So I think that part is also very interesting. But Chaitanya, now I want to talk to you about Darwinbox. It's an HR tech firm. How was 2020 when all of us, many of us, most of us were working from home? That's when, startups like yours came into the limelight. I'm sure business really went up, all of that.
Again, I think we have a massive boost from the pandemic. We have clear tailwinds. Again, when at the starting of the pandemic, not everyone was not people were not clear, right? I mean, what is the nature of the pandemic, whether it is transient or how it is going to last. So the decision making was on hold for some time. So there was a sort of flatness in the market as well as growth at that point. In one quarter, things got very very clear. Everyone realized it is going to last for some time. And second, whoever had not invested on cloud, especially for managing their people operations, they got severely impacted in terms of business continuity. So cloud adoption for HR tech or managing people operation has become a mandatory thing, not a good to have or an optional thing. So since then, we've seen a massive growth. For example, the last quarter was highest in our history, and before that, the previous quarter was highest. So every quarter was highest till then. So we've seen a massive growth in this pandemic. So again. Everyone realized, digital adoption or cloud adoption is an essential thing. So in a way, interestingly, I think the pandemic accelerated the sort of change management that is required for digital adoption a lot. Maybe whatever would have taken 3 years, happened in 6 months. So in that way, it is a pretty good eventually for enterprises as well as firms like us, who are helping companies digitally transform and manage their businesses.
You're working, we'll look at the brands that you're working with, which I've taken from your press release, right? Adani, Mahindra, Kotak, TVS, Ujjivan, Bharti AXA, Dr. Reddy, Swiggy, Big Basket, Delivery, Nivea. Were you working with all these big honchos, startups, unicorns before 2020 also? Or was it, you started signing on the biggies after COVID-19? I'm just very curious.
We've been working with them even before pandemic. Interestingly, when we started our journey 5 years back, the sort of a sector we are in, we manage complete employee life cycle, end-to-end employee life cycle, and the focus has been enterprises and mid-segment companies. In that segment, it is not easy to go and sell. There is a bit of a skepticism, especially when you want to replace existing large-scale companies. And the sort of the data we deal with is also very, very sensitive and private, right? So it is not very easy to convince enterprises to buy a product from a startup or a very, very young company. But at the early or beginning of our journey, we got major traction from all these tech unicorns because their workforce is very young and they demand a very, very good experience in terms of even the tools that are given to them to manage their day-to-day work life. So that is where these companies are very firm about giving a new age, end-to-end, and good experience sort of tools to their employees. I think they sort of, they could relate very well to our journey and us as people. So the early traction or adoption happened really in new age tech companies and all these giant unicorns. Later, we started getting good traction in large conglomerates and enterprises and BFSI segment eventually, etc. So yeah, we've been very grateful for these guys. I mean, we're pretty much repeating the same pattern in other geographies as well. Typically, for any technology like us, the early adopters invariably be these new age tech companies, startups who are very open for trying out new stuff, as long as it is interesting and solving their problems in a way better than existing guys.
Can you give me an idea of, because look at the companies that you're working with, right? From the new age companies, Delivery, Big Basket, Swiggy, you've also got Kotak, Adani, and all from the old economy. Can you give me an idea of how, after 2020, the HR needs have changed and how Darwinbox is perhaps responding to that? Like, if you're not going to office and doing attendance, whether it's by biometric or wherever, the fact is in today's day and age, it's almost seeming like 24/7 working days. Where are vacations? Where are holidays? When do we get a Sunday? Many of us. So needs have also changed, right? And outside of payroll, what are the new needs?
Again, as I said, the 3-4 years worth of digital acceleration happened in last 6 months time. While it became a platitude saying work from home became a new norm, but of course it is accepted fact it is going to stay because companies also seen benefits in this model in terms of cost and convenience. So what we are talking about is a hybrid workplace. So what is hybrid? Again, 100% back to office won't happen. There will be a set of or a certain segment or a certain percentage of people working from office and working from home any day. Now who will come to office or who will work from home. It again depends on the business needs, personal preferences, or maybe it could be a simple rotation as well. So this is something that is going to be the new norm in the future, a hybrid workplace. So while I said that this is companies derived or seen a benefit in terms of cost and convenience, the long-term impact on productivity and certain other sensible aspects like employee engagement and the motivation, etc. It is not established. 9 months or 10 months, it is too short of a period to say everything is fine. So now this should be done without impacting the productivity. I think that is where technology is going to play a major role. While ensuring productivity is not impacted and not only addressing operational challenges like who should come to, what percentage of the people should come to office and what percentage can stay, taking into factor their personal preferences and business requirements and all the approvals, etc. that are required. These are operational challenges. Obviously, we need to tackle them. And second, we also need to tackle the challenges like how do you when a lot of the workforce is going to be distributed, when you engage in a lot of gig workers, how do you ensure they are engaged, they are connected to vision of your employees? How do you check in a pulse of the employees, and how do you take care of their well-being? How do you ensure they're productive and you are measuring productivity not once 6 months or 1 year on a continuous basis? So these are all interesting and the challenges that this model is going to throw at us. So I believe technology is going to play a major huge role. It is quite exciting and challenging for all of us. Second thing is again data. The data-driven decision-making or whatsoever analytics we call, historically, it is always a privilege of a top layer or a few people in the organization. So now this is a trend that we are already seeing in certain other systems of record, like in a CRM space or a finance space. Now in HR space also, interestingly, everyone will demand the relevant data for helping them with the decisions. What it means is everyone across, so data democratization is going to happen. That is another interesting thing
Right.
that we see happening.
Okay, so let's see how this pans out. I'm going to make this my final question. Chaitanya, we're running out of time, so we're going to have to keep it short. You've got, like I said, Saas ka baap on your side now. The world's largest SaaS company, Salesforce, which is betting big, which is betting on India now, clearly, and it has invested in Darwinbox. With Salesforce, obviously, many doors are going to open for Darwinbox. Can you tell me very quickly how Salesforce's investment is going to change the fortunes, the trajectory and the growth curve of Darwinbox? Are you going to go overseas? Is that the plan? Or, is it going to be a situation where Darwinbox is going to be taking care of the HR tech needs of Salesforce out of India?
So we have strongly complementing product offerings. They are undisputed market leaders across the globe in CRM customer space. And we are doing we are building we are on a mission to build Asia's largest HR tech platform. So on product front, there are a lot of synergies and obvious opportunities to shake hands and to go together to offer very good solutions to our end users. And we can also derive a lot of learnings from Salesforce in terms of leveraging their platform ecosystem, leveraging their learnings in terms of scaling the product and the technology, etc. So there will be accelerated learning and innovation from a product front. And in terms of a go-to-market perspective as well, it will certainly help not only to win in the existing markets, because it adds a lot of credibility and validation to the sort of product that we've built and so what we are doing today. And even in new geographies that we are going to
Right.
focus on the emerging markets, I think they'll be phenomenally helpful.
Okay. So we wish you all the very best, Chaitanya, you and the entire team at Darwinbox, doing something right to get Salesforce on your side. We'll check in a couple of quarters to see how this partnership is going through and the kind of growth you would have seen. Thanks again for joining us here on the
Thanks,
Startup
Nayanthara.
Central.
Thank you very much.